You see this because you passed your soul's most painful test. The wound is the place where the light enters you. These timeless words by Rumi perfectly capture the journey you've been on. If you are watching this today, it is no coincidence. It is a divine sign that you have successfully navigated your soul's most grueling trial. We often view our darkest moments as setbacks, but in reality, they are the fires that forge our greatest growth and deepest happiness. Today, we're exploring how to take the wisdom gained from your painful test and weave it into the fabric of your daily life to unlock a level of peace you've never known before. I want to hear from you. What was the one lesson your hardest season taught you? Drop a comment below and let's support each other's journeys. 1. The nature of the test. Nigredo. The harrowing experience you recently navigated was not merely a string of bad luck or a temporary rough patch. It was a profound encounter with the concept known in spirituality as Nigredo. Carl Jung, the legendary psychiatrist, often spoke of this blackening phase as the most essential yet agonizing part of the alchemical process of the soul, representing the dark night of the spirit where everything familiar begins to rot away. During this period, it likely felt as if your entire reality was imploding at once. Your career may have faltered, your most cherished relationships might have fractured, and the very identity you spent years building seemed to turn to ash in your hands. This was a total psychological collapse designed to strip away everything that was not truly yours, forcing you to stand naked before the truth of your existence. It is vital to understand that this was a necessary death, not a failure of your willpower or a punishment for your mistakes, but a deliberate clearing of the path. Your soul was masterfully engineering a temporary death to rescue you from a life constructed upon a false ego, ensuring that you could no longer inhabit a space that was too small for your destiny. Imagine a grand old building that looks beautiful on the outside, but has a foundation riddled with rot. The universe didn't just want to paint the walls, it had to tear the structure down to the earth so a diamond-strength foundation could be laid in its place. This destruction was the ultimate act of self-love from the universe, preventing you from spending another decade building a life that would eventually leave you hollow. While those around you may have perceived your struggle as a simple mental breakdown, the deeper truth of spiritual awakening reveals that you were actually undergoing a sacred initiation into a higher state of being. You were not falling apart. You were falling into place, shedding the layers of social conditioning and ancestral trauma that had kept your true light dimmed for far too long. Think of this process as a high-level reformatting of your internal operating system, because the old version of your personality simply could no longer support the massive growth and wisdom your soul is destined to carry in this lifetime. Just as a seed must completely crack open and lose its original form in the cold darkness of the soil before it can ever reach for the sun, you had to be broken open to release the immense potential locked inside your spirit. This transition from breakdown to breakthrough is the hallmark of a true seeker, moving from the density of past illusions into the crystalline clarity of a higher consciousness. By passing this painful test, you have proven that you are ready to embody your true purpose, discarding the heavy skin of who you were told to be to finally become who you were born to be. Every tear shed during that dark night was a drop of sacred water washing away the ghosts of the past, leaving you purified and prepared for the brilliance that is now beginning to unfold. You have survived the Negrito, the most difficult hurdle in the human experience, and in doing so, you have claimed the sovereign right to walk in the light of your own authentic, unshakable power. If this resonates with your journey through the darkness, comment with conviction, "I have passed the test, and I am being reborn." 2. The dissolution of the mask, the persona. You are standing at a profound threshold because you have successfully navigated what is perhaps the most grueling challenge of your life, a trial that was not meant to break you, but to strip away everything that was never truly yours. This experience is a hallmark of authentic spirituality, marking the moment when the heavy, suffocating mask you wore for decades finally shattered into 1,000 unfixable pieces. For a long time, you functioned through a persona, a carefully constructed identity designed to appease your parents, satisfy the rigid demands of society, or climb the ladders of professional success. You were performing a role in a play you never signed up for, and the agonizing pain you recently endured was the sound of that stage finally collapsing under the weight of its own insincerity. When the cracks began to appear, you found yourself falling through the gap, a terrifying transition where you existed in the empty, silent space between the person you pretended to be and the soul you actually are. While most people encounter these fractures and immediately reach for the glue of denial, shallow distractions, or social comforts to patch their masks and continue the performance, something deep within your heart changed. You, or perhaps your higher psyche, reached a point of absolute refusal to keep lying to yourself and the world, understanding that the mask was no longer a protection, but a tomb. By making this choice, you deliberately embraced the terror of freedom over the safety of a familiar prison, recognizing that living a lie is a slow death, while facing the naked truth is the only path to a genuine existence. This refusal to return to the old ways is the definitive sign of your spiritual development, as it proves you have developed the rare courage to exist without a script or a safety net. The test you passed was one of endurance and radical integrity. It asked if you would rather be liked for someone you are not, or be misunderstood for the person you truly are. As the persona dissolved, you cleared the internal wreckage that had been blocking your inner light for years, transitioning from a life of mere imitation to a life of sacred initiation. This process was never about losing your identity, but rather about removing the barriers to your essence so that you could finally breathe as a whole being rather than a fragmented character. You have moved beyond the desperate need for external validation and have instead anchored yourself in an unshakable, silent internal truth that no one can take away from you. This profound transition marks the end of your time as a performer and the beginning of your journey as a conscious creator, where your actions are no longer desperate reactions to the expectations of others, but are the natural, effortless expressions of your liberated soul. You have realized that the persona was merely a tool that became a master, and by breaking its power, you have reclaimed your throne as the sovereign authority of your own life. The dissolution you experienced was not a tragedy, but a necessary shedding of an old skin that had grown too tight for the expansive energy you are now meant to carry. In the past, you may have viewed your suffering as a punishment, but you can now see it as a surgical precision of the universe, removing the cancerous growth of falsehood from your spirit. Now that the mask is gone, you are no longer exhausted by the constant effort of maintaining an image, allowing that diverted energy to flow into your healing and your higher purpose. You have learned that true power does not come from the roles you play, but from the stillness that remains when all the roles are stripped away. This is the wisdom of the void, the understanding that being nothing in the eyes of the world often means being everything in the realm of the spirit. Your journey has proven that the most painful tests are often the most liberating, serving as the fire that burns away the dross to reveal the indestructible gold within. As you move forward, you carry the strength of one who has looked into the abyss of their own falsehood and had the bravery to step into the light of the unknown. 3. Shadow work and reclaiming gold. You have reached this sacred moment of realization because you have finally navigated the treacherous corridors of your soul's most agonizing test, emerging not just as a survivor, but as an integrated being of light and depth. This profound transition you are experiencing is the direct result of a courageous confrontation with the unconscious, a journey where you stopped fleeing from the echoes of your own mind and instead turned to face the vast, silent internal wilderness. For a long time, you may have felt as though you were walking through a valley of shadows, yet this was the necessary process of shadow work, the rigorous spiritual labor of reclaiming the parts of yourself that were exiled in the name of social acceptance or the desperate need to be loved. As the legendary psychiatrist Carl Jung profoundly observed, the shadow is 80% gold, and by venturing into the depths of your own suppressed rage, your unvoiced grief, and the bitter truths of your hollowest relationships, you have begun to mine that gold from the darkness. You spent years pushing away your intensity, your anger, and your rawest emotions just to fit into the narrow boxes others built for you. But through this painful test, you have realized that those hidden fragments were actually the guardians of your authentic power. This trial required you to stop the ego's instinct to project your own perceived flaws onto the world around you, demanding instead that you take radical, absolute ownership of every corner of your soul, recognizing that the people who triggered you were merely mirrors reflecting the parts of yourself that were crying out for integration. The weight you carried was not a burden of fate, but the density of your own untapped potential, buried beneath layers of societal conditioning and the fear of being too much for a world that prefers the shallow to the deep. You had to endure the dismantling of your old identity, watching the structures of your life crumble as you realized that many of your connections were built on a version of you that no longer exists. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom, the understanding that destruction is often the first step of creation, and that the pain of shedding an old skin is the only way to allow a more expansive self to breathe. You have faced the truth that your creativity, your wildness, and your most potent desires were held captive in the same cellar as your pain. And by choosing to unlock that door, you have liberated your entire existence. The great poet Rumi reminds us that you must keep breaking your heart until it opens. And through the cracks of your most painful experiences, a new, resilient light is now pouring through. This is why you are seeing this now. You have successfully transmuted the lead of your suffering into the gold of self-mastery, proving that you are no longer a victim of your circumstances, but the conscious architect of your internal reality. You have learned that true peace does not come from the absence of darkness, but from the mastery of it. And by embracing the totality of who you are, the light and the void, you have attained a level of sovereignty that can never be shaken. The test was never about whether you could survive the pain, but whether you could find the treasure hidden within it. And by refusing to turn away from the mirror of your own soul, you have claimed a prize that is eternal, unshakable, and entirely your own. Comment below. I am reclaiming my gold. If you are ready to own your power. 4. The turning point. Radical surrender. In the journey of the human experience, there are moments of profound darkness that feel less like a challenge and more like an absolute undoing. Yet it is precisely within this shattering that the soul finds its truest light. You are standing here today because you have successfully navigated the most grueling trial of your life, a threshold that many approach but few cross with such grace and resilience. This wasn't just a period of bad luck or a temporary setback. It was a curated spiritual initiation designed to strip away everything you thought you were, so that who you are meant to be could finally breathe. By passing this test, you have signaled to the universe that you are ready for a higher level of consciousness, and the wisdom you have earned is now the foundation of your new reality. The true turning point of this entire ordeal was the moment you embraced the concept of radical surrender, moving beyond the agonizing loop of victimhood to enter a state of profound spiritual awakening. For a long time, you likely found yourself trapped in the heavy, repetitive cycle of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" A question that keeps the heart anchored in pain and the mind searching for a villain to blame. However, the test was officially passed the very second you pivoted your perspective and began asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" This shift isn't just a play on words. It is a total realignment of your energy from resistance to reception. When you stop fighting the current, you start to see that the current was always guiding you toward a necessary shore. This process often involves what many in the realm of spirituality call an ego death, a terrifying yet sacred experience where your logical mind realizes it has no more moves left on the chessboard. You reached a point where you couldn't think, or even positive think your way out of the darkness. And in that helplessness, you were forced to surrender to a higher organizing principle known as the Self with a capital S. This is the part of you that remains untouched by earthly trauma, the divine spark that knows exactly how to rebuild from the ashes. As you let go of the ego's need to control the outcome, you allowed this higher intelligence to take the lead, proving that sometimes the only way to win is to stop fighting the wrong battles. This transition required you to enter a period of sacred solitude, a time when the world seemed to fall away, leaving you in a silence that felt heavy and suffocating at first. You had to be alone during this phase because it was the only way to distinguish your authentic voice from the chorus of internalized others, the expectations of parents, the judgments of society, and the whispers of past versions of yourself. This isolation was not a punishment, though it may have felt like a desert. Rather, it was a sanctuary where your true essence could finally be heard without the static of external interference. Consider the metaphor that this solitude turned from a tomb into a womb. What felt like an ending, a cold and dark enclosure, was actually the protective casing of a rebirth. Just as a seed must be buried in the dark earth before it can break through the surface as a flower, you were planted in the stillness so that your roots could grow deep enough to support the massive growth that is coming. By sitting with yourself and facing the shadows without flinching, you have integrated the lessons of your past and transformed your pain into a refined type of power. You now move through the world with a different frequency, one that is no longer easily shaken by the opinions of others, because you have met yourself in the silence and liked who you found. This mastery over your own inner space is the greatest gift of the test, and as you move forward, you do so with the quiet confidence of someone who has survived the fire and emerged as pure gold, ready to embrace the boundless opportunities that a life of alignment now offers you. 5. The result, the wounded healer. You have reached a pivotal moment in your journey because you have finally passed the most grueling examination your soul could ever face. A trial by fire that has fundamentally altered the core of your being. By successfully navigating this intense period of suffering, you did not merely survive a difficult chapter. You underwent a profound transformation of spirituality that has evolved you into a different species of human altogether. You have emerged as the wounded healer, a sacred archetype that signifies your wounds have now become your greatest qualifications. Like the ancient figure of Chiron, who could heal others despite his own incurable pain, you now possess the rare ability to hold space for the agony of others without the desperate need to fix it, simply because you are no longer afraid of the dark corners of the human experience. This shift represents a massive leap in your spiritual development, as you have removed the masks of pretension and ego that once shielded you from the world. Because you have faced your own shadows with such raw honesty, you now possess a sharpened perception that allows you to see through the masks, inconsistencies, and incongruencies in everyone else around you. You can sense the truth in a room before a single word is spoken, and this clarity is the direct result of having integrated your own fractured pieces into a cohesive whole. This evolution has granted you the gift of the transcendent function, an advanced psychological and spiritual state where you can finally hold the tension of opposites, joy and sorrow, light and dark, beginning and end without collapsing under the weight of the paradox. You understand now that life is not about choosing the light over the dark, but about having the capacity to stand firmly in the center of both. This level of maturity means you no longer run from discomfort or chase fleeting happiness. Instead, you remain a steady, grounded presence amidst the storms of existence. You have realized that the cure for the pain is in the pain. And by surrendering to that truth, you have unlocked a reservoir of wisdom that most people spend lifetimes trying to find. Your presence now serves as a silent permission for others to be authentic, as your very energy radiates the strength of someone who has walked through the abyss and returned with their soul intact. Every tear you shed during your most painful test was actually a drop of water nourishing the seeds of a new consciousness within you. You are now a bridge between worlds, capable of understanding the deepest depths of human misery, while simultaneously touching the heights of divine peace. The transition you have made is so significant that the old versions of yourself would likely not even recognize the person you have become today. Where you once sought external validation or feared the judgment of others, you now move with a quiet confidence born of internal mastery. This newfound strength is not aggressive. Rather, it is a silent, immovable force that allows you to witness the chaos of the world without losing your center. By passing this soul test, you have earned the right to lead by example, showing those around you that it is possible to be both vulnerable and invincible. You are no longer a victim of your history, but a master of your destiny, utilizing every scar as a map to guide others through their own wilderness. This is the ultimate reward for your bravery. A life lived with unshakable depth, a heart that can contain the entire world, and a spirit that is no longer bound by the illusions of the surface. You stand now as a testament to the fact that the most beautiful diamonds are formed under the most intense pressure, and your light is now bright enough to illuminate the path for everyone who crosses your way. Support your growth by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell to stay aligned with your highest self. To manifest the peace and abundance you've earned, type, "I deserve to live a life of peace and purpose." The pain you endured wasn't just a challenge. It was the final forge that shaped your soul into its highest version. By passing this test, you have cleared the path for a new chapter of peace, purpose, and abundance. Remember, the universe only tests those it knows are ready for greatness. Trust your journey. The hardest part is now behind you. If this message resonated with your soul, please give this video a like and share it with someone who might need this encouragement today. Don't forget to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom and turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming insights on your path to enlightenment. Thank you for watching and stay blessed. 7 hidden hair signs you are entering a higher vibration. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. But what if the signs of that awakening were already manifesting physically right in the strands of your hair? Welcome back to Spiritual Wisdom, where we bridge the gap between ancient psychology and spiritual evolution. Today, we are revealing the 7 hidden hair signs you are entering a higher vibration, exploring how your physical form mirrors your internal growth. As we dive into this wisdom, I have a question for you. Have you noticed sudden changes in your hair's texture or vitality during moments of deep intuition? Let me know in the comments below. I read every story. Now, if you are ready to decode what your body is trying to tell you, let's begin this journey together. 1. Vibrational luminosity, the inner glow. In the vast and mysterious landscape of spirituality, our physical bodies often serve as the most honest barometers of our internal state, acting as maps that chart the geography of our souls, and nowhere is this more evident than in the condition of our hair, which has long been regarded in ancient traditions as an extension of the nervous system and a conductor of cosmic energy. As we embark on the tumultuous yet rewarding journey of a spiritual awakening, we often look for grand visions or thunderous revelations. Yet the truth is frequently found in the quiet transformation of our biology, specifically in what we might call vibrational luminosity, or the inner glow. This phenomenon is not merely a matter of aesthetics or the result of an expensive conditioning treatment, but rather, it is the first distinctive sign that you are entering a higher frequency of existence. You may begin to observe that your hair develops a natural, inexplicably radiant shine and luster that seems to emanate from the core of the strand itself, a sheen that no product, oil, or serum can artificially replicate because it is not born of chemistry, but of alchemy. This luminosity is the physical manifestation of energetic alignment, a concept that Carl Jung might liken to the integration of the shadow, where the friction of our internal conflicts ceases to drain us, allowing our vital life force to flow unimpeded. When you are trapped in the lower vibrations of survival, fear, and unresolved trauma, your body is in a constant state of physiological stress, a dryness that permeates every cell, rendering the hair brittle, dull, and lifeless, much like a plant deprived of water. However, as you commit to the work of spirituality, shedding the heavy, dense layers of accumulated anxiety and releasing the emotional burdens that have long weighed upon your shoulders, a miraculous physiological shift occurs. This release of emotional density acts like a soothing balm to your entire system, allowing your nervous system to shift from a sympathetic state of fight or flight into a parasympathetic state of rest and digest, deeply hydrating your internal landscape and calming the electrical storms of the mind. As this inner tranquility takes root, your body ceases to hoard its resources for survival and begins to channel energy toward flourishing, causing your hair to reflect the light of your inner peace. It is as if the very structure of your hair becomes translucent, a halo of vitality that signifies you have moved beyond the heavy, opaque armor of the ego and into the luminous transparency of the soul. This newfound shine is a testament to the fact that you are no longer merely surviving the chaos of the world, but you are metabolizing your experiences with grace, turning the lead of your suffering into the gold of wisdom. Therefore, when you catch that glint of light in your hair, recognize it not as vanity, but as a sacred confirmation that your spiritual awakening is physically altering you, proving that as you heal the invisible wounds within, the visible world begins to glow in resonance with your truest self. Comment below, "I radiate divine light," if you are ready to embrace your inner glow. 2. Effortless flow, softness, and manageability. Have you ever noticed that on certain mornings, as you stand before the mirror with your brush in hand, the bristles seem to glide through your strands as if they are moving through water, devoid of the usual resistance or knots that once plagued your daily routine? This subtle shift in the texture and manageability of your hair is not merely a result of a new conditioner or a change in the humidity, but rather, it is a profound biological and energetic reflection of a much deeper transformation occurring within your psyche. Your hair is far more than just dead protein filaments. It is an extension of your nervous system and a sensitive antenna that broadcasts the state of your inner world, serving as a tangible record of your history, your stress, and your emotional vibration. In the past, when you found yourself constantly battling against the currents of your destiny, trying to control every outcome and micromanaging the people around you. Your body was flooded with the chemistry of resistance, causing your hair to become brittle, tangled, and defensive, much like your own spirit. However, as you embark further on your path of spirituality and commit yourself to genuine spiritual development, a softness begins to emerge from the inside out, signaling that you have finally stopped forcing your way through life and have instead chosen to embrace the rhythm of existence. This transition into softness is the physical manifestation of surrender, a state where you are no longer holding on to old traumas or tightening your grip on how you think life ought to look, but are instead allowing the universe to support you. Just as water flows effortlessly around obstacles, never struggling but always finding its way, your spirit is learning to move with the same grace, and your physical body is responding by releasing the tension it has held for years. The knots in your hair were often symbolic of the knots in your mind, the overthinking, the worry, and the rigid need for certainty. But as those mental knots loosen through your dedication to spiritual development, the physical manifestations of that stress dissolve alongside them. You are entering a vibration of ease where the struggle is replaced by trust. And this lack of internal resistance means your energy field is no longer jagged or chaotic, but smooth and harmonious. It is a sign that you are becoming a vessel for higher energy, allowing life to move through you rather than crashing against you. And this effortless flow is the ultimate confirmation that you are aligning with your true, authentic self. When you stop fighting the wars within yourself, your body receives the signal that it is safe to soften, safe to relax, and safe to shine without defense. This change in your hair is a quiet, intimate message from your soul to your conscious mind, validating that the inner work you have been doing is taking root and bearing fruit in the material world. It is a reminder that the most powerful form of strength is not rigidity or hardness, but rather the capacity to remain soft and manageable in a world that often demands hardness. As you continue to nurture your spirituality, you will find that this manageability extends far beyond your morning routine, seeping into your relationships, your career, and your daily challenges, turning what used to be mountains of frustration into simple, manageable hills. You are no longer a stone blocking the river, but the water itself. And in this state of effortless flow, you realize that everything you need comes to you, not because you forced it, but because you became the kind of person who could receive it with grace. 3. Scalp sensitivity, the crown chakra opening. The phenomenon often begins subtly, manifesting as an inexplicable tingling sensation, a gentle pressure, or a distinct heightened sensitivity to touch and temperature specifically localized on the scalp, acting as the first tangible indicator that you are entering a higher vibration. This is not a sensation to be dismissed as a mere dermatological triviality or a reaction to the physical environment. Rather, it represents a profound physiological and energetic shift occurring at the very summit of your being. In the realm of spiritual wisdom, the scalp is far more than just skin covering the skull. It is the physical guardian of the crown chakra, the energetic gateway known in ancient traditions as the thousand-petaled lotus. When you experience this specific type of sensitivity, It signifies that this dormant energy center is stirring from its slumber, effectively thinning the veil between your individual consciousness and the expansive energy of the universe. It is as if the roof of your spiritual house is being opened to allow the light of the cosmos to flood in, and your physical body is reacting to this immense influx of high-frequency light and information by creating these somatic sensations. You are physically registering the presence of the divine, feeling the weight of spiritual downloads as they press against the boundaries of your current understanding, urging you to expand your capacity for awareness. Central to this experience is the role of your hair, which serves a function far more complex and mystical than modern aesthetics acknowledge. Within this context of spiritual awakening, your hair acts as a sophisticated spiritual sensor, operating much like the delicate whiskers of a feline or the antennae of an insect, reaching out into the ether to gather subtle data. Each strand of hair is rooted in a nerve-rich follicle that acts as a conduit for energy, picking up on the electromagnetic frequencies and emotional vibrations of the environment around you. When your vibration raises, your nervous system becomes hyper-attuned, and your hair becomes an extension of this heightened nervous system, detecting shifts in the atmosphere that the eyes cannot see and the ears cannot hear. This creates a feedback loop where the external vibrations of the world interact directly with your internal energetic state through the medium of the scalp. It validates the ancient belief held by many indigenous cultures and sages that long hair preserves energy and increases intuition. You are literally feeling the static of the spiritual realm as your personal frequency aligns with the higher dimensions, turning your physical form into a finely tuned instrument of reception. This biological and spiritual integration brings to mind the profound insights of Carl Jung, who dedicated his life to bridging the gap between the known physical world and the unknown depths of the psyche. Jung famously noted that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and this scalp sensitivity is a somatic marker of that becoming, a sign that the self is merging with the greater whole. As the crown chakra opens and the scalp tingles with this new aliveness, you are stepping out of the isolation of the ego and into the collective interconnectedness that Jung described. The pressure you feel is the dissolving of old mental structures, making way for a new architecture of thought that is aligned with universal truth. It is a process of energetic refinement where the body must adjust to house a more potent spirit. Therefore, when this sensation arises, it is an invitation to stillness and trust, a confirmation that you are not just imagining a change, but are physically and spiritually mutating into a being capable of holding and transmitting a frequency of light that was previously inaccessible to you. If you accept this energy and are ready to expand, repeat after me. I release all resistance to my awakening. I claim this energetic shift as a blessing for my soul. 4. Resonance with authenticity, loving your natural texture. The journey into a higher state of consciousness often manifests first in the quietest moments of your morning routine, specifically in the sudden, inexplicable drop of the desire to alter who you are physically. For the longest time, your hair may have been viewed as a project, a problem to be solved, or a wild entity to be tamed through heat, chemicals, and relentless manipulation. This compulsion to straighten what is naturally curly or to curl what is naturally straight is rarely just about aesthetic preference. Rather, it is deeply rooted in the illusion of control, a psychological mechanism where the ego attempts to dictate reality to assuage the subtle fear of not being enough. However, as you undergo a profound spiritual awakening, this internal friction begins to dissolve, and you find yourself looking in the mirror, feeling a strange, new exhaustion with the artifice of it all. The straightening irons gather dust. The appointments to chemically alter your essence are canceled, and in their place rises a profound sense of peace with your natural state. This is the undeniable sign of resonance with authenticity, a clear indication that the war you have been waging against your own biology is finally coming to an end. This significant shift represents an act of what can be best described as vibrational sovereignty, a reclaiming of your energy from the external expectations that once held you captive. When you stop manipulating your hair, you are doing far more than changing a hairstyle. You are releasing the deep-seated shame that once whispered that your natural texture, your raw, unedited self, was essentially flawed, messy, or inadequate. In the realm of deep spirituality, this is a critical pivot point where the soul asserts its dominance over the persona, allowing the mask to fall away so the true self can breathe. By embracing your natural texture, you are returning to your authentic code, signaling to the universe that you are finally safe to be yourself without modification or apology. The specific patterns, waves, or flow you once despised become a testament to your freedom, serving as a physical declaration that you are no longer willing to twist yourself into shapes that do not fit your spirit. You are learning to flow with the river of your own existence rather than swimming upstream against it. And this radical acceptance of your physical reality serves as the ultimate foundation for holding a higher vibration. 5. Hair appearing in dreams. When you drift into the enigmatic world of dreams, you are not simply experiencing random firings of the brain, but rather entering a sacred dialogue with your own subconscious, where deep truths are communicated through powerful symbols. Among these nocturnal messages, the appearance of hair stands out as a profound indicator of your current state of being, signaling that you are traversing a critical threshold in your personal spirituality. In these visions, hair is far more than a physical trait. It serves as a potent archetype for your identity, your vitality, and the psychic power you hold in the waking world. When your soul begins to vibrate at a higher frequency, your subconscious mind uses the image of hair to illustrate the complex changes happening within your internal landscape, acting as a mirror to the transformation of your ego and self-concept. If you find yourself dreaming of cutting your hair, this is rarely a sign of vanity or superficial change, but rather a dramatic and necessary symbol of release and renewal. This act signifies that you are consciously or unconsciously severing ties with a past version of yourself that no longer resonates with your evolving spirit. It is a visual representation of shedding old skins, letting go of outdated beliefs, and releasing the heavy emotional baggage that has kept you tethered to a lower vibration. By removing the old hair in the dream, you are making space for new growth, effectively declaring to the universe that you are ready to step into a lighter, more authentic existence. This is a crucial aspect of spiritual development, as it requires the bravery to dismantle who you were to become who you are destined to be. On the other hand, dreams that involve brushing, grooming, or attempting to untangle knotted hair point toward a desire for clarity and the restoration of order within your psyche. When you encounter tangled hair in a dream, it often reflects the confusion or chaotic energy you may be navigating in your daily life, serving as a gentle nudge from your inner self to pause and address these complications. The act of brushing through these knots symbolizes your active participation in smoothing out the rough edges of your thoughts and emotions, aligning your mental state with the peace you seek. It suggests that you are in the process of integrating new wisdom, organizing your internal world so that intuition can flow through you without obstruction, much like energy flowing through the nervous system. These vivid dreams are confirmations that your soul is hard at work, even while your body rests, integrating the massive spiritual shifts you are experiencing. Whether you are cutting away the old or grooming the new, your subconscious is revealing that your identity is fluid and currently undergoing a magnificent restructuring. By paying attention to these signs, you validate your own journey, understanding that the changes in your self-perception are not crises, but celebrations of growth. You are effectively graduating to a new level of consciousness, where your external identity is finally beginning to match the luminous, high vibrational reality of your spirit. Leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any profound insights like this, and continue elevating your frequency. Type in the comments, "I am ready to receive higher wisdom." 6. Syncing with lunar cycles. There is a profound and often overlooked phenomenon that occurs when your internal vibration begins to rise. A subtle communication between your physical body and the cosmos that manifests through the simple, everyday act of grooming. You may find yourself standing in front of a mirror, struck by a sudden, visceral urge to cut your hair, or, conversely, an overwhelming desire to deeply nourish and treat it without any logical reason or planned schedule. If you were to check the calendar in that precise moment, you would likely discover a startling synchronization. Your intuitive impulse aligns perfectly with the phases of the moon. This is not a coincidence, nor is it merely a fleeting whim of vanity. It is a powerful indication that you have begun to exit the rigid, linear construct of artificial clock time and have successfully returned to organic spiritual timing. In this state, you are no longer marching to the mechanical ticking of a man-made watch, but rather flowing with the ancient cyclical rhythms of nature itself, vibrating in harmony with the celestial bodies that govern the tides and the seasons. This deep sensitivity suggests that your connection to the natural world is being restored to its primal state. Consider for a moment that the human body is composed largely of water, much like the surface of the earth. And just as the moon's gravitational pull commands the rising and falling of the ocean tides, it exerts a similar influence over the biological waters within you. When you are operating at a lower vibration, you are often numb to these pulls, distracted by the noise of modern society and the demands of the ego. However, as you access deeper spiritual wisdom, your physical vessel becomes a finely tuned instrument, an antenna capable of detecting subtle shifts in universal energy. As the renowned psychologist Carl Jung famously observed, "At some point, the earth will have to answer." In your case, the earth is answering through your intuition, signaling that your psyche is no longer separate from the environment, but is intertwined with the living soul of the world. You are experiencing what the ancients knew instinctively, that we are microcosms of the macrocosm, and our growth cycles mirror those of the planets. When this synchronization fully takes hold, you will notice that your urges are not random, but specific to the energy of the lunar cycle. For instance, during the waxing phase leading up to the full moon, when the energy of the universe is expanding and reaching its peak, you might feel a sudden heaviness in your hair, a desire to release and let go. This is because hair often holds on to energetic residue, serving as a record of your past emotions and stressors. Cutting your hair during the full moon becomes a spiritual ritual of release, shedding the dead weight of the past just as the moon completes its cycle of illumination. Conversely, during the new moon, when the sky is dark and the energy is focused on germination and new beginnings, you may feel a magnetic pull to apply oils, massage your scalp, or nurture your roots. This is your intuition guiding you to sow seeds of intention, focusing on health and internal growth when the cosmic energy supports new life. You are acting without checking a forecast because your spirit is the forecast. This shift represents a liberation from the matrix of artificial time, the stressful, linear pressure that dictates we must always be producing, moving, and doing. By syncing with lunar cycles, you are embracing the wisdom of rest and flow. You are acknowledging that there is a time to grow and a time to prune, a time to hold on and a time to let go. The philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." By embodying this truth through your hair care rituals, you are stepping into a higher frequency of existence where you trust the timing of your life implicitly. You are no longer fighting the current. You are becoming the river. This alignment is one of the quietest yet most definitive proofs that you are walking a path of enlightenment, guided not by the expectations of the world, but by the silent, rhythmic wisdom of the universe itself. 7. Intuitive styling, energy management. As you traverse the deeper layers of your spiritual awakening, one of the most profound yet subtle shifts occurs in the relationship you hold with your physical vessel, specifically regarding the crowning glory that is your hair. You may find yourself moving away from styling choices dictated by vanity, fashion trends, or social expectations, and instead, you begin to embrace a form of intuitive styling that prioritizes energetic resonance over aesthetic perfection. This transition is not merely a change in taste, it is a surfacing of deep, subconscious wisdom where you begin to recognize that your hair serves as a biological extension of your nervous system, acting as a sensitive antenna that interacts with the electromagnetic fields around you. In the realm of spirituality, this realization marks a pivotal moment where you stop viewing your body as a mannequin to be decorated and start treating it as a sacred instrument of energy management, instinctively knowing how to modulate your frequency through the manipulation of your hair. When you feel an inexplicable compulsion to gather your hair into a tight bun or a high knot atop your head, you are engaging in a powerful act of energetic containment and preservation. This is often not a conscious decision to look tidy, but rather a spiritual reflex to seal your crown chakra and prevent the leakage of your vital life force during moments requiring intense concentration or self-protection. By pulling the hair away from the face and neck and coiling it upon the crown, you are symbolically and energetically closing the circuit, signaling to the universe that you are in a state of consolidation. It allows you to harness your scattered thoughts, bringing them into a singular point of focus, much like a laser, enabling you to navigate complex tasks or deep introspection without being drained by external static. You are creating a fortress of solitude within your own aura, establishing a boundary that says you are currently self-contained and holding your power within. In direct contrast to this containment, there are days when the very sensation of a hair tie feels suffocating, and your spirit demands the freedom of loose, flowing strands. This urge usually coincides with periods where your intuition is seeking to expand, and you are in a state of high receptivity to the messages of the cosmos. Wearing your hair down unbinds your antennas, allowing the free flow of energy to move through every strand, thereby heightening your sensitivity to the environment and the emotions of others. It is an act of energetic vulnerability and openness, a way of declaring your readiness to feel, sense, and commune with the invisible world. In this state, your hair acts as a net, catching the subtle breezes of inspiration and the whispers of divine guidance, integrating the external world with your internal landscape in a seamless dance of connection. Furthermore, we must consider the ancient and deliberate practice of braiding, which serves as a profound mechanism for grounding and structural alignment. When you feel drawn to weave your hair into plaits, you are subconsciously performing a ritual of binding the mind, body, and spirit into a cohesive whole. The rhythmic motion of overlapping three strands creates a geometry of stability, acting as an anchor when the high-frequency energies of a spiritual awakening feel too chaotic or overwhelming. A braid is not just a hairstyle, it is a woven intention, a way to tame the wildness of pure energy and channel it into a tangible, manageable form. It connects you to the earth, reminding you that while your spirit may soar, your feet must remain planted. Ultimately, this intuitive styling is a clear indication that you have graduated from superficial grooming to masterful energy work, utilizing the natural tools of your body to protect your aura, enhance your intuition, and maintain your spiritual equilibrium. If this message has resonated with your spirit today, leave a comment of affirmation. I embrace my transformation. I am stepping into my highest vibration. In the end, view these changes in your hair as your spiritual antenna tuning into a new station. You are entering a season of heightened intuition and power. Do not ignore these silent signals. Instead, honor them as proof that you are entering a higher vibration and becoming the person you are destined to be. If you found value in this video, please hit the like button and share this wisdom with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe to the Spiritual Wisdom channel and click the bell icon to stay updated. We will see you in the next video.